So there's lots of natural brands everywhere doing jojoba. And because I'm in the business of treating chronic skin problems, it's important that it's not only certified organic, but it's guaranteed first pressing. So you all know the difference between normal avocado olive oil and extra virgin olive oil. Everyone knows the difference and everyone knows which one they want to buy. And then if you're sucked into the dieting world, you'll buy olive oil light. And that's just the worst quality olive oil that they've got left that's had the life pressed out of it. So with jojoba oil, what a lot of people don't realise is that even when you buy certified organic, sometimes it can be second or third pressing. So to get somebody to tell you is the biggest thing, what they're doing with their pressings. And then to get someone to agree to sell you first pressing only. So I don't use any of the suppliers that Australians use for their jojoba oil because nobody will do that. So I'm a pain in the ass. And I have to work really hard to find people who'll be really open and honest with me. And so that's what my certified organic jojoba is. It's guaranteed first pressing. So there is no chemical or pesticide residue whatsoever. And normally, unfortunately, even with jojoba that might be second or third pressing, what they'll do is they'll use solvent at the very end for the final extraction, and then they mix it all together. So you end up with solvent residue whether you like it or not. And if you're treating people with the chronic skin problems, so the doctor of environmental medicine I work with in Sydney, he treats people who literally, they can't have carpet in their house, they can't drive a brand new car because the vapor that comes off the vinyl is a problem. There are so many different things they're acutely reactive to. And so I have to be very, very careful when I work alongside someone like that I know what I'm producing is very, very pure. So that's, again, that's something I had to learn the hard way. And with most cosmetic plant oils as well, most people don't realise when you buy cosmetic grade plant oils, they're called RBD. RBD means refined, bleached, deodorized. Oh. That is standard cosmetic plant oils. Unless you say, I don't want shitty RBD oils, I would like a really good quality oil, they'll often sell you something like that. So refined, bleached and deodorized is great for the mainstream beauty industry because the oil is the same look and colour and feel, and what they're wanting is the same kind of palette to work from, so that the aromas they add will all be true each time. And so we had an experience recently where somebody who's been using my cleanser for quite a long time returned it and said, there's something terribly wrong with this, I can't use it. So what happens with the mandarin that I use is that sometimes I can't get the quality I want in Australia and I have to go to Italy for this really rich red mandarin. And it turns my cleanser like a peachy colour. And she was like, I don't want this, there's something wrong with it. And it's like, this is nature. This is what happens in nature. It's like plant oils, and depending on the essential oils particularly, depending on the season and the weather patterns, I import rose oil from Bulgaria, direct from the source, because it's the world's most adulterated essential oil. And there was a terrible wet summer, spring and summer a few years ago, and it meant that rose oil was very, very hard to find, and the price just went through the roof. So I had to beg my supplier, for his rose oil, and he said, we've guaranteed so much of it to China. And this was a massive problem for me, because the Chinese market was really like loving the rose oil and taking it all. And so I was looking down the barrel of where on earth am I going to get my rose oil from at this kind of quality? I'm going to have to go back to doing what I did before, which is buy something that is half the strength, which means I have to put double the amount in to have my product smell the same. And this is going to absolutely kill me. It already costs me a fortune. So that sort of experience, when the weather patterns seriously affect a harvest, makes a huge difference to me. And the suppliers in Australia who jacked their prices up because of that situation 2 years ago. So the price of rose oil has come back down now to about $26,000 a kilo. but they haven't changed their price. They're still selling it for the highly inflated price from 2 years prior, because they figured the market could handle it. And so, you know, these sorts of things I find really hard to bear in the industry, when I know they're getting a better price again, but they won't pass that on to the consumer. So there are lots of things over the years that I've been shocked about and, you know, tried to kick up stink about. But at the end of the day, I just put my energy now into finding the very best suppliers that I can, so that I know that I've always got a plan B. Because when you do what I do, you have to have a backup plan. You have to have a plan B, because all kinds of things can go wrong when you're sourcing natural raw materials.
Ask, how do you source? Where do you start? Is it a simple Google, or do you?
So, that's a really great question. Google Earth's fabulous, especially in Europe, because again, 2.5 years ago, I had a massive problem sourcing French clay, which I use a lot, because there was a massive issue with arsenic contamination. Because of that, all of my sources dried up. And what I did was, I knew the area in France where a lot of the quarries are, and I Google Earthed and had a look at where it was dropping and the suburbs, and I found 3 separate companies, and only one of them was very transparent about their processing plant and how they guaranteed it was arsenic free. And so I flew to France and met the family. So I don't buy my clay from the usual sources, because a lot of French clay is actually Chinese clay, and they call it French clay. And that's just another, you know, strange thing that a lot of people don't realise. So yeah, I got myself a holiday in France, and I went to the quarry. And 3rd generation family business, really ethical, and it's really worthwhile doing that sort of thing. So yeah, you do often have to do strange things, like, you know, Google Earth the whole area in France where they grow all the lavender. You know, that, and when I first started 20 years ago, you know, the whole Google thing hadn't taken off. So you can only imagine how hard it was back then to source raw materials from anywhere else. And I got into a lot of hot water with a lot of my suppliers, because I would call them out and say, this is not really good frankincense. You know it's not. You're always very difficult, Sharon. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like, it smells revolting. And then they'd come back to you and say, it has the exact same specifications as the previous batch. Well, it might have the exact same specifications, but it's terrible. It's awful quality. What are you going to do about it? You know, so I've returned a lot of things. I have returned so much rancid plant oil. You know, they're selling it to me, and it's already about to like, it's already, I can smell it, it's already gone. And that what they do is they change the date on it. So the great thing, as much as a nightmare of experience it was I had to become EU compliant 1.5 years ago for my British stockists. Becoming EU compliant means that the people who won't give you true authentic certificates of analysis that can be traced back to source, you don't use them anymore, because the EU won't accept them. You lodge those forms and they go, that's not a legitimate certificate of analysis. And then you go back to your supplier and say, that's not, and they go, everyone in Australia is happy with that, but I'm getting EU compliant, they're not happy with that, you have to give me another one. That's where they all come unstuck. So when you go to, you know, like Donna Hay, when you see what Donna Hay's done, and you go, you know, let's say you got invited to her house and you're sitting down having a meal with her. You know full well she's gone to a lot of trouble with those ingredients. You just know, and that's it. With skincare, you don't know. You really don't, because even if there's a person behind a brand, if they're a big brand and they're manufactured, you don't know what their manufacturer are doing, because sadly the owner of the skincare company doesn't even know what the manufacturer are doing. So that's the world that it is. You know, so it's and that's hard, you know, that's why I'll never be a huge, big, massive company. It just won't happen. because I never want to make in those big massive machines. I don't want to have stockists all over the world. I don't want to have a great marketing machine telling me, oh Sharon, we've really got to start bullshitting everybody now. Like, come on, get on board, produce more products, you know. It's just, that's what will happen, and I don't want to do it. I never got into the business to be a businesswoman. I'm still not a businesswoman. You know, I'm still making it up the very best I can and learning as I go. So, you know, I need to sleep at night. I know what I'm doing is authentic and honest and it's right. And, you know, if I don't set the world on fire, as I said to you guys, I don't own property. I still live in a rented flat. But as far as I'm concerned, I made it the day that I bought my ute and I bought my motorbike. So I have a big fat motorbike and I drive a ute and I'm done. That's it. It's like I'm happy. You know, my life, I can, like I say, I can sleep at night, and I believe wholeheartedly in what I do. As a hands-on therapist, I'm in my element when I've got my hands on people. That's my vocation in life. The hands-on, and the business is a passion, you know, so I don't just have a job or even a career. My vocation in life is the hands-on, and my passion is fixing people's skin.
So you really do have a magic touch when you're doing facials. Can you tell us about the whole training that you went through? I've heard incredible stories about that.
The training?
Yeah, the training that you used to go through and that they don't offer anymore for facials. It was
42 different touches.
Oh, that's classic European massage that we were discussing. Yeah, they don't seem to teach it anymore at all in college, and everyone's moved away from hands-on therapies and into machinery now. So it's when you're at college now, they teach you a lot about the salon hour, and if you can make $150 in 20 minutes versus $120 in an hour and a quarter, which one do you go with? You know, so machinery is pushed down everybody's throats now at beauty college, and the minute you're out of there, they just want you straight into somewhere where you can do laser, you know, all those kinds of injectables, everything. As I said, you know, I lost my best friend when she was 38 to ovarian cancer, and you know, I'm just glad every day that I'm here. I've gone grey. I'm here to go grey. I have lines and wrinkles. I'm here to have lines and wrinkles. There's only one thing we know for sure when we come into the world. There's only one thing we know for certain. We are going out. What we do with the valuable bit we have in the middle called life, what we do with that is entirely up to us. So we can buy into the marketing machine, and we can buy into the beauty industry bullshit about aging and fear all the time, and that we're always not quite good enough. We are less than. You know, I'm so anti all of that, because we're all unique and individual, and we shouldn't all be lumped together. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with wearing your badge of honor that you're still on the planet. Lines. We're going to get them. So you can keep Botoxing and filling yourself, but one day you'll just have to stop and accept that we're all going to get older. And I have a grandma. I had a grandma. I'm sure you've all got grandparents. I had grandparents. You know, you love them. We all, it doesn't make any difference. It's just the marketing machine now on social media has us feeling like we should never have a line and wrinkle. You know, so I find that absurd, totally absurd. But social media is very, very powerful, very powerful. So it's just, you know, it's important for me to talk about my stance on aging, because I think we all have to be realistic. And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, getting lines and wrinkles as you get older. And I always think about when I was younger, the kind of movies that I watched. And, you know, everyone loves Audrey Hepburn, but also Katharine Hepburn. Oh, what a feisty woman. You know, I really related to her, because there she was in her men's trousers and a men's shirt with a collar up and her hair all over the place with a ciggy in her hand. And she was a sassy woman with attitude. that's what's wrong now with the world, is that there aren't enough women with attitude to say, we are absolutely great just the way we are. It's all fake, boob, everything's all just fake. And we've got to push through all of that. And if I can do my little bit, you know, to encourage people just to embrace the beauty of aging naturally. And I'm not saying, you know, I mean, I love skincare and I love rituals and all those kinds of things. And I believe we should make the very best of ourselves, absolutely. You know, the French women have less plastic surgery, cosmetic procedures than anybody else, because they're brought up to believe in looking after their skin regularly and to love themselves and to have that bit of attitude. So I, in my own funny half Cumbrian, half Australian way, do my bit of attitude and try and encourage people just to, you know, to embrace life first and look after your skincare, you know, skin the best you can, and be respectful. Because the problems that I see now with skin are to do with loads and loads of unnecessary procedures. Over-exfoliation. The single biggest problem, over-exfoliation. It not only sensitizes the skin, but it leaves your skin wide open to pigmentation issues, because you're removing a lot of healthy skin as well as dead skin. And when you can constantly remove healthy skin as well as dead skin, and you have lots of laser and those kinds of procedures and microdermabrasion, that means unless you wear an SPF all the time, you're going to end up with weird patchy pigmentation. No, carry on.
I was just going to say, you're really inspiring. I love your honesty. It's really refreshing. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And can you tell us a little bit about your products and maybe like your top 3 or your must-haves,
Yes,
or your faves?
absolutely.
And why you love them so much?
Absolutely, yes, I will do. And just very, very quickly before I move on to my top 5, I'll just say one last thing as well, which is always controversial, is I haven't worn sunscreen for 22 years. No sunscreen for 22 years. And I'm, you know, nearly 56. So it's a big fear mongerer. And when many years ago, decades and decades ago, when someone was going on holidays, they went to a pharmacy and they went to a separate section that had sunscreen. You couldn't buy a moisturizer with an SPF in it 30 years ago. You couldn't buy a foundation with an SPF in it. You went to a separate area of the pharmacy because you were going on holidays, or it was the summer holidays coming up and your kids all had to have it on for the beach. So for me, sunscreen is for the weekends and it's for holidays. If you work in an office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, stop using it. It's clogging. If you're using UV absorbers, it's highly toxic. It dulls the skin, suffocates the skin. And if you work indoors Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you have to ask yourself, honestly, why are you putting it on? Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 indoors. You're walking to the bus, 10 minutes, you're walking home. You might nip out for a sandwich for your lunch for 5 minutes. So unless you're sunbaking in your lunch break, then no need. Weekends, holidays. Top 5. Okay. Firstly, it's very hard for me to have favourites. Very hard for me to have favourites. And they do change a little bit as time goes on. So, bestseller, Rose Soothing and Protective Moisturiser. And that's the cream that I developed in my kitchen a long time ago. And that's the one that, again, has a lot of rose essential oil in it. And the great thing about this product is how versatile it is for skin type and condition. So you're probably all thinking, she never did do the 5 moisturisers. How does that work out? So what you do is, if you have combination oily skin, who's got combination oily skin here? All right. So tiny bit of moisturiser. That's all. It's like less than a quarter of a pump, yeah? Rose mist. What did that formulator teach me a very long time ago? Sharon, it's just a moisturiser with a bit more water in it. Light lotion. Voila! There you go. You've made it yourself. Moisturizer for combination oily skin. Okay. And then somebody who wants, let's say, a moisturizer for a lot of sun damage, dullness, then they go to my little go-to instant revival booster, which is terrific for mature skins, for sun damage, for dull, lifeless skins. And then you just add 2 drops of that magic oil, and you've got a really nice rich moisturizer that's customized to your skin type and condition. There you go. Dead easy.
I can smell it. Like, yeah, I can smell it from here. I can smell it from there. No, but that really just says about your quality of your ingredients if you can smell it from here.
They're very powerful.
Wow.
They're very powerful. Yeah. Like I say, my products are so concentrated. And the skin rituals that are playing up on the back there, the reason that I have those is because so many people use my products incorrectly. Because they're so concentrated, they don't realize, and they use far too much. If, for example, you attempted to apply this to dry skin, which is what most people would do in the industry, it will last you probably less than 3 months. If you apply this to damp skin, which is what you'll see on my videos, it will last you 6 months. 6 months. And the reason that you apply that to damp skin is because when you apply something to damp skin, you need only half the amount. And what you do use penetrates more deeply, so you get longer lasting hydration. And because you're using a small amount, you're not overburdening the skin with too much product either, which is what happens when you put cream on dry skin. So that overburdening is something that I see a lot with more mature skins, but also with younger skins who are just overdoing it. So less is more. You don't need to use a massive amount. And that's why the mist is really, really important to buy, because it means that your investment in this is 6 months instead of 3.
You can pass them around, Sharon.
Ah, yes. So if you all want to have a little play and a mix and match.
prefer the words investment. Like
Yeah.
investing in it. It's not
Yeah.
just, oh, I've got nothing to do. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have MV devotees that have been using my brand since the very, very beginning. And every now and again, you know, I'll get an email from someone saying, oh my God, I was overseas and I ran out and I went and bought this. And my skin just went berserk, you know. And it's so lovely after all those years to decades for people to say to me, Sharon, I still love your product so much. I haven't found anything that's this kind of quality. And that's why I do it. That's why I do it. And that's why, again, with no marketing budget, the brand has grown organically over many, many years, because people tell their friends. And even though I'm known for treating people with sensitive skin and PCOS or a lot of hormonal skin conditions, my product really is absolutely perfect for everybody because it's a health product. I just get pigeonholed a lot with that. So top products, Rose Plus Booster is the 5 times award winner, and that's the one with the Bulgarian Rose Oil in there, at an insane amount, So if you pass it round, my hands are very oily, but even just 1 drop on the back of your hands, and you just massage that into the back of your hands, and you'll get a real sense of how powerful that aroma is.
So is that suitable for all skin types?
So the Rose Plus Booster, the reason it's won 5 awards is because it's a go-to booster for just about any skin type and condition. So normal skins, dehydrated skins, cuperose skins, sun-damaged skins, it doesn't matter. But the beauty of the Rose Plus Booster is hormonally imbalanced skins. I get great results for PCOS, endometriosis, women even who are pregnant, and then menopause, all those kinds of crazy things that happen with menopause. And yeah, any kind of hormonal imbalance you can think of at all. Adult acne. And what happens with the Rose Plus Booster is people get very, very hooked if they, especially if you're having a hardship, something's gone on in your life, because rose has got the highest vibration of any essential oil, And even though you're not aware of it, it actually is a massively feel-good essential oil. So it has a lot of power, you know, for that sort of heart area. It's been used for a very long time in Britain and Europe's maternity wards for mother-baby. It's known as a natural calmative and a relaxant, but it's, you know, it's a really beautiful one for people who are grieving, having a hard time, depression, anything like that. It really changes your mood. So Rose Moisturiser, Rose Mist, Rose Plus. I've talked about those because they're on my rosy top 3. And also a little funny one, my Hand Rescue's won a lot of awards too. And that is such a luxe hand, foot, anything cream at all. It's like a real repair cream. And it's a very, I don't make a huge amount on this product because you can't sell a hand cream for a lot of money. But it's, yeah, so you might want to all have a little play with the Hand Rescue. I started that way, so I'll go back that way. And you can all have a little play. And my cream cleanser is a huge success story. But if you get it wrong, you really get it wrong. Because everyone wants to take it in the shower. Big no-no. Big no-no. It's not a wash-off product. So this really rich cream cleanser is applied dry. It really grabs all the makeup and the grime. And then you wet your fingertips and massage the skin with damp fingertips. Yes and no. What you have to do is get the hot cloth, the hot steamy cloth, and then put it over the top of your cleanser once you've massaged it for about 15 seconds. So it really is a short time. You know, I mean, I know people who say, oh, I massage for 2 minutes, I love the smell of it so much. It's like, that's way too long. It's got mandarin essential oil in it. It's not meant to be on your skin for that long. So the hot cloth is what does all the hard work. So the Eastern European method of cleansing, warm steamy compress, you know, it's activating all your superficial circulation. It's softening all the surface dead skin cells. All the essential oils are becoming airborne, so it's a real aromatherapeutic experience. So if you repeat that warm steamy cloth 3 times, you've removed all of your surface dead skin. And all the healthy skin is still intact. And then the world wouldn't have the whole microbiome buzz thing we've got going on now, because nobody would have stripped the hydrolipidic film in the first place, and their microbiome would be perfectly healthy like mine is, you know?
Exactly.
So it's just, you know, the beauty industry creates one problem, and then they create a huge big market for a product that fixes the problem that was created by them in the first place. You know, so yeah. So cream cleanser, should I pass that around? I should go the back row, shouldn't I? Because
This person.
you're all missing out if you go that way. So yeah, my rose products are my hero products, and they're what I'm known for. But I mean the jojoba, again, it's a single product. The beauty industry strongly recommend nobody ever does a single product. You know, you can't bamboozle people with it. You can't charge a huge amount of money because it's a single ingredient. It can't be, you know, patented or whatever. But, you know, really, really high quality jojoba that's organic. Everybody can use from baby's first day on earth. It's safe to use around mucous membranes. It's safe to use over relatively fresh wounds. There's hardly anything else that you can do that with. And the reason being is it's 1 molecular bar short of being identical to the skin's own sebum. It's a sebum mimic. So basically the skin thinks it's sebum. You only need one, if you're a guy, one drop off is all you need. You really don't need any more than that. And with MV, talking about the MV differences, blending an application tool for MV is the palms of your hands. So there's none of this just, you know, rubbing in with your fingers, or the beauty industry thing that drives me nuts. Paddling the skin, patting in. Envy is about, it's a nurturing and beautiful experience. It's a ritual. So you put the products on your hands, and that lucidum skin, like the soles of your feet, doesn't absorb quickly or easily. That on damp skin with your rose mist, that's, you're touching, you're holding, and your envies are literally hugging your skin. You know, I don't want it to be a sort of, oh, quick, I've got to get this done and I've got to get out the door. You know, it's that's why I developed it when my daughter was little, because I just wanted a little bit of sanity. I wanted to lock myself away in the bathroom for 3 minutes, just to do my own thing. And as an esthetician who was passionate about hands-on, you know, I knew that the kind of techniques that I was taught was something lacking. And so, you know, like beauty therapists and massage therapists, they have their hands charged to work. And when I train people to do what I do, I have to constantly say, you have to relax your hands. You're not needing them, you're like literally hugging someone. You know, and that's the hardest thing to teach somebody. It's like to undo what they've learned. So it's the same when you're doing it yourself. It's just much more of a relaxed palms gliding, like hugging the skin. But again, if you don't spritz with the rose mist first, you will use far too much product and you'll drown in it. So watch the videos and remember my mantra: less is more.
I love the 3 rosy combo. The mist,
Yes.
the moisturizer,
Yeah.
and after Rose Plus booster.
Yeah. Yeah. And for people who, I just have to say this too, because I treat a lot of people with rosacea. About 5% of people with rosacea can't tolerate rose essential oil. It doesn't work on them at all. So it's really important to know that, you know, if you don't like the smell of rose, I have oxygen moisturizer. And if you have rosacea and you don't like the smell of rose, then my daily soother booster is the alternative. So I have 3 concentrates or serums or ampules or whatever you want to call them. The Rose Plus you know about. The Instant Revivals, they're like, if I use a car analogy, it's like a Ferrari. Wow, you know, instant results, it's really impressive. That's the Instant Revival. The Rose Plus boosters like the Bentley or the top of the range Mercedes with one of the world's most expensive and luxe essential oils. But the Daily Soother, which is also an alternative for rosacea, it's your hybrid, your Prius. That's saving your skin. It's like a salve, like a protective glove for your skin. It's very herbaceous and medicinal smelling. I'll pass it round because it's very, very different to the other boosters. I'll work it round. And so the essential oils that I use as well, for example, in the Instant Revival booster that you smelt from over there, about 2 years after I started the brand, quite a well-known aromatherapist said to me, I don't know how you've made those oils work, because there's a few things in there that don't make sense. And so I know how I've made it work. And about 6 months later, she rang me and she said, I know how you've done it. And so it's just one of those things, is that, you know, I'm a self-taught formulator. I'm a self-taught aromatherapist. I read loads of books and I experimented and worked out what I like the smell of. Because when I could see what other people were telling me to blend together, I'd just go, pooh, I don't think so. You know, so I'm just very much a self-taught tamperer.
How did you choose your packaging?
That's a really good point, actually. My daughter was tiny, and glass in the bathroom was not a thing. It wasn't going to happen. I've been anti-plastic for a very long time because I had a wonderful teacher a very long time ago, before anyone was talking about phthalates and plastics in anything. He was very well researched before even the internet. So he really hammered home to me about estrogenic and what that was going to do in the future, messing with our hormones. And he was right. So packaging wise, I had to find something that was non-breakable. that was dark and would protect my products from the light, because essential oils, especially very expensive ones you paid a lot of money for, you don't want them being exposed to light. And when I did my research, a guy who worked for a canning company came back to me with all this information about aluminium and about its recyclability, which was back before anyone was even talking about recyclability. And because I also started shipping very early on to the UK, you try sending a DHL box full of glass, you know, so, and at the other end it not be damaged. So for me, the aluminium was important also because there was no finger dipping. I didn't want to do the jars because I was using a very natural preservative system. I was using a lot of essential oils, which are natural preservatives, but either way, once you start sticking your finger in something, you know, you've got problems. So you can't finger dip. It protects the valuable ingredients from light, and it's easy to travel with, and it's non-breakable. And now it has a very high rating as far as sustainability and environmentally, because energy-wise, it doesn't use up the same kind of energy, and unlike a lot of other materials which can't be recycled over and over again, aluminium can just be recycled and recycled and recycled. And they say that 75% of the aluminium in the world is, you know, it's been around for a long, long time. It just keeps getting recycled. So that's, yeah.
Just on that, where did the name come from, and what was that like? Just coming up with a name. You have this strong vision for what you want to do, and of course, a name does not give you that.
Yeah, look, MV is my vision, my values, and I knew full well that I was not like anybody else in the beauty industry. I knew at college I wasn't like a lot of other people in the beauty industry, and I did have a very different value system. And that first beauty editor I sat with, you know, she was the one who pointed out that my values were possibly unrealistic. And again, you know, I just thought, well, I can't compromise on that. And I did. I had a very clear, very strange vision. So I went to a friend dragged me along after I'd started, just after I started my business, just after. She said, "Oh, Sharon, we're in a bit of credit card debt, the pair of us. I want you to come along to a talk and keep me company. It's based on Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad." And I thought, great, got to get rid of the credit card debt. So I went along to this talk, and it wasn't really about Robert Kiyosaki's book. It was an Anthony Robbins ripoff. So the weekend, it was full of guys, because they were all there trying to get rid of the credit card debt. And it was, it was an Anthony Robbins ripoff. The guy had been to America and watched Anthony Robbins, and he just copied him. And I have to say it was highly successful, because at the end of the weekend workshop I was like, I'm doing it, I'm taking on the world, and that's it. But the very most powerful thing was the end, the very end. And the lights went down, and we all had to sit back in our rows of seats, and boxes of tissues got put at the end of every row. And we're thinking, boxes of tissues? What's that for? How ridiculous. And then the lights went completely dark, and they put the blinds down, and they asked everyone to hold hands. By the time we'd finished the weekend workshop, we were all the best of mates, because I can't tell you what we'd been through. It was unbelievable. We all held hands, and then he started talking us through what he said was just going to be a meditation. And he did it so well, and he took us to our own funeral. And so with my eyes closed and feeling the energy of everybody else in the line I was sitting with, I was honest to God at my own funeral. I could see everybody in the audience, congregation. I could see everybody there, the people I did want to be there, the people I definitely didn't want to see there, who were there anyway. And I saw some very unusual, well-known faces in the crowd, of people I'd never met before, that were well-known. And something told me that I would probably meet some of those people one day. And out of the 3 faces I saw, I've met 2 of them. And, you know, I just, like, who knows? Who knows how all these things work? But, you know, The very best present I ever got from the woman who took me to that weekend workshop was about a month later. She gave me a little post-it note that I've laminated and I still have to this day. And it says, what anyone else thinks about me is none of my business. That's what cripples you. That's what cripples us all, wondering what everybody thinks. So, you know, I'm a survivor. You know, my parents had gone and left me and my two brothers to it. So, you know, me and my brothers just did what we had to do to survive, and that's why I ride a motorbike, and I've got hard knock brothers, and, you know, one of them's been in the Nick quite a few times, and I've got, you know, my family's very well known where I come from, but I live in Australia, so nobody knows that. And all my friends I went to school with cannot believe that this is what I do for a living. Because I was voted girl most likely to get into trouble. So, you know, who knows how our life turns out. But yeah, I knew that day that I wasn't going to let anything get in my way. That I knew I was doing the right thing and I believed in myself. And regardless, I was just going to keep forging ahead. And I'm not saying there haven't been a lot of obstacles. I've almost gone bankrupt twice. You know, after 33 years, my relationship broke down. But he's still one of my best friends. But, you know, that's what happens in life. But I am still doing what I love. I'm still doing what I believe in, what I'm passionate about. And I figure that I'm lucky because there aren't many people who that's what they do. And they're living what they love. So, yeah.
Thank you for your courage and your sass. I've got two questions. One is, how long is your waiting list to have a facial with you? And two, if you had one wish for the beauty industry, what would it be?
Right. One wish for the beauty industry. For them all to stop the marketing bullshit, and then the beauty industry would vanish overnight, actually. I mean, you know, it's just it's the disempowerment of women. I wish they would all stop doing that. Allure magazine in America made some small inroads last year, the year before, when they refused to use the term anti-aging in their publication. They refused. They said, from here on in, that word doesn't appear in our publication anymore. That forced the L'Oreals, the Lancoms and everybody to use different terminology. You know how much they pay marketeers to come up with alternative words to anti-aging? Millions, because it's a multi-billion dollar industry. And that is power, like pharmaceuticals and everything else. They want us to stay sick. It serves the pharmaceutical companies that we remain sick. It serves the beauty industry, that you don't all feel okay just the way you are. That you'll keep getting the next biggest and best. And instead of saying, oh, if you keep improving your formula, why did you make such a shit formula in the first place? You know, we go, oh, it's bigger and better, it's bigger and better. So I'm the kind of person who asks the other question. You know, like, take it back and go, couldn't you have just made something really good the first time around? You know? So, yeah, I just wish the BS would disappear from it, and disempowering women. You know, because I think after nearly 30 years in the industry should have evolved. Human beings should have evolved. And we're actually going backwards. We're actually going backwards. You know, so there aren't enough women to say, this is not right. This isn't good enough. Because for as many as there are in other industries doing that, in the beauty industry, a lot of people just keep falling into the same pattern in the beauty industry. Because the pressure to be like other brands, natural brands who get bought out, all of a sudden the range gets huge. And they never had an anti-aging product in there before, but now they do. In fact, they've got 5. You know, so I'm lucky. I'm lucky because I don't have to deal with that. But that's what happens. That's what people will tell you is, if you want to survive, then you've got to do all of that. You've got to lie to people. You've got to you know. Cheapen your ingredients. You've got to do what you can to make money to survive. You know, I mean, I'm a very unusual case because, you know, I started out with virtually nothing. But people who've got loads of money, you know, they can easily afford to do the right thing and just make a bit less money.
Yeah.
But the greed takes over. So, yeah, that's a hell of a question.
And the other question she had was about your facial.
Well, funnily enough, because my books were closed for a long time, they are temporarily open again. So if you can get to Sydney,
I can get to Sydney.
I only work Tuesdays and every second Saturday in treatments, though.
Fine, I work for myself as well. So.
And there you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going up yeah, offline. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing such a wholesome
Thank
and
you.
authentic approach to beauty. And
Thank you for letting me.
we learnt so much from this evening, and it's truly shed some much needed light on how the beauty industry actually operates. So thank you.